The ASICS Glideride has flown under my radar for the past 2 years. But this year, it's got ASICS' new FF Blast Plus foam, and that has definitely got my attention. This is the Glideride 3, and it's time to take it for a run. 5.62 miles, 9 minutes, 7 seconds per mile, and 133 beats per minute today, going for a first and also technically a second run in the ASICS Glideride 3. The first run technically was when I wore it to the Girls on the Run 5K downtown. I ran that with my daughter, had a fantastic time. It's a wonderful organization. And then after the race, the rest of the family drove home and I ran home to get in the miles for this test today. Now, before I give my thoughts on the ASICS Glideride 3 and how it's done after just the first couple of runs, I do want to go over some disclosures. This is a pair of shoes that ASICS sent me for the purpose of review, and I've done a lot of projects with ASICS in the past and will be doing a lot more projects with ASICS in the future. So there's a lot of opportunity for bias in this review, so feel free to take that into account when evaluating my opinions. However, no one's paying me to make this video or to use this shoe, and no one's gonna get a chance to preview any of my footage or my thoughts before you guys get a chance to see this video on YouTube. So with that disclosure out of the way, let's talk about the ASICS Glideride 3. First, let's go over some specs on this shoe. This is a 32mm stack height shoe in the heel with a 6mm drop, which is a slight change from last year's 5mm drop, which means that this year there is 26mm of stack height in the forefoot. And there are 3 different elements in this shoe. The bottom, the white layer, is flight foam. Now, something that's going to be changing for this year is that ASICS used to have 2 different types of just regular flight foam. They had flight foam and flight foam Propel. I think going forward, the regular flight foam is going away, and now flight foam Propel is just going to be called flight foam. So there's no more flight foam Propel anymore, although there is, they're just calling it flight foam. Does that make sense? So we got flight foam on the bottom layer, and on the top layer, that's where we've got the goodness in this shoe. That's that FF Blast Plus, which is bouncy, squishy, light, and resilient foam from ASICS. It's a material that I've absolutely been enjoying lately. And in between those 2 layers, there is a plate-like structure, which is a layer of hardened EVA. And you can kind of see it in the cutout in the outsole here. It starts back here right at the part where you can see it, and then it comes all the way forward towards the front. So like the window here gives you an idea of the length of that hardened EVA plate. And the purpose of that is to give this forefoot a little bit more structure and a little bit of rigidity, so that way the shoe really rolls. On that outsole, there is a bit of exposed flight foam that you'll be running on, but for the most part in the high traffic areas, you've got some strategically placed rubber, and it's an ASICS shoe, so you know that this rubber is going to last a long time, probably longer than the foam is going to last. Moving to the upper, we have a jacquard mesh, which is super nice and comfortable, really nice and stretchy on the toe box. And moving to the tongue and some of the padding that's around the ankle, it is a surprisingly restrained amount of padding that's being used here for something that's intended for some of those higher mileage weeks or those longest runs. In the ankle, we have a little bit of structure in this heel cup here, and that's all part of the guide sole technology, which is designed to help you save energy on those really long runs by reducing any unnecessary ankle movements. All told, this shoe comes in at a relatively heavy weight of 9.9 ounces and 280 grams. So what was it like to run in this shoe? I feel like this is one of the most comfortable shoes that I've worn in a very long time. Stepping into it, there is definitely step-in comfort. Standing around in it, Also a lot of comfort as well. I feel like I have kind of like a new go-to recommendation for those people who are asking me for shoes that they can use to be comfortable at their jobs if they're going to be on their feet for a really long time, and then also can take out for a run as well, because both in the running realm and in the casual realm as well, the shoe is really comfortable. I think that what they're doing with the two foams really works well here, and it feels like a system that is pretty much invisible to me because it just feels like one really great foam to run on. You feel the squish of that FF Blast Plus, and I feel like this has been kind of the best example of FF Blast Plus that I've seen thus far from ASICS. It's combined though with that hardened EVA plate and the flight foam underneath, so I feel like it does a fantastic job of balancing all of the squish that I want in a shoe while also still being a shoe that rolls really well and can really log in the miles. Now, I will say though that the shoe isn't like the best shoe if you have to pick up the pace. I did run some strides on this day testing out the shoe, and it was okay for something like strides, but if it were something where I might have to do a little bit of a workout where I'm going to be doing something longer than strides, I'm not sure that this would be a shoe that I would reach for. But if it's a shoe that you need for that long run PR or for those high mileage weeks, I feel like the Glideride 3 is a solid contender to reach for, and that gives you that max cushion feeling and that max level of comfort. So overall, this is a very comfortable shoe that is not going to be afraid to really rack up the miles, and I'm looking forward to putting in some long runs into this shoe. I don't think it's going to take very long for me to get to 100 miles in this shoe for my long-term review of it. So hit the subscribe button so you can see when that video shows up, and you can see how this Flight Foam Blast Plus holds up over the miles. If you have any other questions about the Glideride 3 after just these first two runs, feel free to put them in the comments down below, or better yet, stop by the live stream that I do over on my Kofuzi Run Club channel. I'd love to see you guys in the chat. That's all I have for today, everybody. Thanks so much for making it all the way to the end of the video. Hopefully you guys are staying safe out there on your runs, and I will see you in the next one.
Yo, what's going on?